So in Far From Home, the Legion takes John Stewart, and in Justice League vs. Fatal 5, it looks like they're taking Jessica Cruz to their time. Why doesn't the Legion have a Green Lantern of their own?
Because it's Thursday.
So out of hype for Justice League vs. the Fatal 5, I decided to revisit all of the Legion of Superheroes appearances in the DCAU, and it seems like they really have a thing for Green Lanterns in the future. I'm sure most of you are aware that the Legion only showed up twice on screen. Once in Superman the Animated Series episode New Kids in Town, and the second time in Justice League Unlimited's Far From Home. But those aren't the only time we've actually seen the Legion in the Bruce Timm animated style. In fact, before ever hitting the screen, we got a Legion story in the pages of Adventures in the DC Universe. This was a comic series that acted as a companion piece to Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series, as well as their tie-in comic books that lasted from early 1997 up until 1998, when Superman the Animated Series got its third season and started expanding the DC animated universe with characters like Kyle Rayner, Aquaman, and of course, the Legion of Superheroes, who appeared in Adventures issue number 10. The team returned to the Adventures tie-in books in Justice League Adventures with cameo appearances in Justice League Adventures number 11 and number 21, but didn't get their own story until that book hit the 28th issue. In their JLA story, we see 4 members of the Justice League, Green Lantern John Stewart, The Flash, Hawkgirl, and Wonder Woman, traveled from the present to 2980 in order to track down a time-hopping criminal named Kilgore. I think that was a whole sentence. Now, Kilgore was a villain who was hell-bent on destroying technology. And while the writers of this issue got the future time period right, which was something the DCAU showrunners had an issue with.
The 30th century is an age of unparalleled peace and prosperity.
Approximately 1,000 years into your future, in what you'd call the 31st century.
The issue was later retconned by the reappearance of Brainiac 5 in Far From Home, who meets John Stewart again, but neither of them seem to have any recollection of this first meeting. Not to mention, the Justice League Adventures writers had a penchant for setting their stories in present day. So while they got the future portion correct, the present day portion was set 976 years earlier, despite obviously being set during the first Justice League show, which was actually a couple years off from being set in present time. For the uninitiated, this might not seem like a huge problem, but we've done the math before on why Justice League Unlimited ends in 2004, which seems to be when this book is set. So if you're interested in all that math, I suggest clicking the card right here to watch that video. However, despite JLA number 28's continuity issues making it not worthwhile from a canonical sense, there was one point of information that kind of stuck out to me. Mordru from The Greatest Story Never Told is actually a Legion villain.
Who is that?
The Dark Lord Mordru.
Wait, how does John know one of the Legion's villains? Did he meet the Legion? Let me add that to my notes real quick for the next Vanishing Point episode. So actually, the thing that I was talking about is that according to Kid Quantum, in the Legion's time, Green Lanterns aren't even allowed on Earth. Now, just like the rest of the issue, it seems like that specific point didn't really carry over into Justice League Unlimited. Or at least, nobody seems freaked out that John is there this time. But it does seem like the Green Lanterns have made themselves scarce since Cairo's death is sometime in the 2050s.
He's much cuter than the last one we killed, don't you think, Dini?
Wait, no, that timeline was erased. Side note, did you know that Paul Dini confirmed that Cairo is only 8 years old? He said, and I quote, "Green Lantern is an Asian child, about 8, and is sort of like the Dalai Lama. He just hovers and is mystical all the time." So I guess it looks like child abuse just kind of runs in the Quinn family.
Sweetie, get mommy's bazooka!
But seriously though, Emerald Empress does specifically tell us,
a Green Lantern. That's a rare sight in this galaxy these days.
This seems to be pulled from the main DC continuity. In 1983's Legion of Superheroes number 295, we learned that the United Planets is considered a mature enough federation that the Guardians of Oa have seen no use in interfering with Earth's affairs for what seems like centuries. However, while the Legion was doing time travel research of their own, they tried to witness the beginning of time, which we already know from the DCAU's Green Lantern is kind of a no-no.
The Green Lanterns have a legend. No one can see the beginning of time. It's a universal law. Write him a ticket.
After being admonished by the Guardians, one of the Lanterns who was present for the Legion's hearings, Universo, grew hungry for the knowledge of what occurred at the beginning of time, thinking that perhaps it held the secret of the Guardians' powers. So, taking over the Legion's tech to achieve his forbidden goals, Universo came to an altercation with Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, and Lightning Lad, which ended in him being returned to the Guardians of Oa and being stripped of his power ring. Ultimately, this led to the ban of the Green Lantern Corps from Earth as decreed by the United Planets, which, as I mentioned earlier, was touched upon in Justice League Adventures number 28. Ultimately, Universo's ring would be given to his son, Ron Vidar, who was already on Earth, to be a covert Green Lantern in a time when the Guardians felt they couldn't be present. Ron's secret wouldn't be revealed until 5 years later in 1988's Legion of Superheroes number 50, in which he had to use his power ring to save his friends in the Legion from the villain, the Time Trapper. As a result of revealing his true identity, Ron was then forced to leave Earth to respect the United Planets' ban on Green Lanterns. By the time that Justice League Unlimited had aired, this was the majority of what had happened in DC's main continuity regarding the Legion of Superheroes and the Green Lantern Corps. Ron would appear again in the Legion titles throughout the 90s, but after 1998, the character went missing for a decade until Justice League Unlimited was off the air for 2 years in 2008. Despite the tie-in comics for the Legion of Superhero TV shows, introducing a new Green Lantern from Earth in Joanna Gardner, who was the descendant of 2 Green Lanterns, most likely Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner based off her name, there haven't really been any other Green Lanterns in Sector 2814 during the Legion's time period. So ultimately, the Ron and Universo storyline seems to be what Timm and co. were pulling from for the DCAU. However, to my knowledge, both Ron and Universo never crossed paths with the Emerald Empress, so maybe there's more to it than that. Which brings us to present day. Despite Justice League Unlimited ending in 2006, the DCAU has been seeing kind of a resurgence in the past couple years. 2013 gave us the Batman Beyond 2.0 comic, which, while not strictly canonical to the DCAU, does pull a lot of inspiration in it. The next year, in 2014, we got a DCAU-style Batman Beyond short. And the very next year after that, we got Batman and Harley Quinn, which leads us to this year's upcoming Justice League versus the Fatal Five. While there's yet to have been any confirmation whether or not this movie will be set within the DCAU continuity, or is just recycling the models a la Brainiac Attacks 13 years later for some reason, one thing is for sure. If it is within the DCAU continuity, like Batman and Harley Quinn proved to be, the presence of Jessica Cruz shows that any new property set in the DCAU is open to add elements that have been put into the DC main continuity since the DCAU's hiatus began in 2006. So with that in mind, let's look into the Emerald Empress's weapon of choice, the Emerald Eye of Ekron. In Far From Home, Emerald Empress tells us,
You'll find the Emerald Eye of Ekron more than a match for your ring.
And yet, she finds the fact that she was able to manipulate John Stewart a success despite Tharok's misgivings.
I'd hardly call capturing a Green Lantern a failure. He's more powerful than a dozen Brainiacs.
Perhaps, but that was never part of the plan.
Sure, Ollie seems to justify their decision.
Because Green Lantern's the most powerful.
But how would she know that? After all, the Legion is known for their hero worship of Superman in particular.
But none of this would have been possible without you.
Me?
Superman showed us that beings from different worlds could work together for a greater good. This is the principle on which the Legion of Superheroes was founded.
And yet, Emerald Empress is just fine with leaving Supergirl behind? The girl has a huge S shield on her chest. You would think that maybe that would influence her decision just a little bit. So what does Emerald Empress seem to know that the others just don't? Well, according to Eric Carrasco, the writer of the upcoming film, the Emerald Eye of Ekron is
just sort of this weapon of unspeakable power that sort of works in similar ways to a Green Lantern power ring.
That's right, Bruce Timm isn't writing this one. You can put your pitchforks down. There's not gonna be any Nightwing and Harley Quinn sex. There's not gonna be any bat-cest. Wait, the Killing Joke movie wasn't written by Bruce Timm either. That one was written by Brian Azzarello, wasn't it? The guy who gave us Batman Schlong and Harley trying to force herself on Batman in the new Batman Damned book, maybe we shouldn't be blaming Bruce Timm for that one either. But back to what Eric was saying. Not only does the Emerald Eye of Ekron work kind of like a Green Lantern ring, it sort of is one. We learn of the Emerald Eye's origins in the weekly 52 series that started in 2006. Literally the same month as the last episode of JLU. In issue number 20 of that run, Lobo reveals that he had ripped it straight out of the head of a being known as, you guessed it, Ekron. And 8 issues later, it's revealed that Ekron was actually a Green Lantern. Well, once again, kinda. According to the DC Encyclopedia, Ekron may have actually been built by the Guardians of Oa. So it seems that the name Ekron actually refers to just the giant floating head that is being piloted by the Green Lantern of Vengar, which is the home of the Emerald Empress. We actually end up seeing the piloting lantern a little bit later in the title, and according to Starfire, the Emerald Eye was his primary weapon rather than a lantern ring. This has led some to believe that the eye was actually a prototype for the power ring, but wasn't something that the Guardians entrusted to the entire Corps, since as Emerald Empress has stated, it's much more powerful than the rings that they did end up going with. So at the end of the day, it seems like there are a lot of ties for the Green Lantern Corps to the Legion of Superheroes, other than just the time travel stories that we end up seeing played out on screen. Now that this is all laid out for you though, my question of the day for you is, do you think that Justice League versus the Fatal Five will do some retconning to the DCAU and tie the Emerald Empress closer to the Green Lantern Corps? We know that if this movie does end up proving to be DCAU, that they're adding Jessica Cruz to this universe's mythos. But according to The Hollywood Reporter, the Fatal Five specifically goes back in time to hunt her down. So it kind of seems like they're leaning that way. But I'd love to hear all of your thoughts on it. So as always, drop your comments down under in the Australia box. Of course, before I go, I want to thank all these lovely people for helping to support us this month on Patreon. If you want to see your name on the list the next episode, you can head over to patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower and we'll get it on there for a pledge as low as $1. While you're over there, you can also check out the perks that we offer on all of the other tiers. We've got things ranging from polls to decide what our next upcoming videos will be, live stream hangouts with James, Ted, and myself, custom artwork from James, or even merch for the Watchtower Database that you can rep in public and let everyone know you're a big old nerd like us. Just big old nerd. Which, by the way, if you're interested in kind of hanging out with us but don't have the money to spare for Patreon, we recently started up a Discord server that we use to chat with all of you guys. You may have heard me mention it last episode, but it really has been a fun way to kind of keep up with the audience and get feedback from you guys, as well as just talk nerdy stuff with you. If you're interested in that, I'll have James leave a link to it in the description box below. Real talk though, this episode actually kind of marks the anniversary of The Vanishing Point. The first episode came out February 8th of 2018. It's really just been a personal joy to get out in front of the camera and talk to you guys about, superheroes and stuff. Not even that long ago, I would be like on Facebook and just kind of, spouting my thoughts about superheroes, deep diving into lore and stuff like that. And I remember that there were people on my friends list who would just, be awful about it and just like kind of poke fun at me for having the interest that they didn't. And so over this past year, just growing the Watchtower Database community and, getting to chat with you guys, whether it be in the Discord or in the comment section or on Twitter or anything, it's really done a lot to, help me realize that there's, a ton of people with just similar interests who want to talk about these things and aren't offered the space to do it. So it's just awesome to me that, we've been able to build this community and make a space where we're all, able to just comfortably chit chat with each other about our over obsessions with stuff like this. I'm kind of getting sentimental about it, and I just wanted to thank you guys. It's been an awesome ride, and I'm hoping that there are many more years to come. With all that being said though, this has been The Vanishing Point. I've been Maddie Washburn. will continue to stay those things so long as you guys continue to stay you. I was told by James that this time I'll see you in 3 weeks. Maybe it'll give me time to come up with some awesome super duper stuff. Love you guys a lot. Kiss your dads for me. Bye.